Greetings, I am Nirvana Sparkle. Welcome back to Kadic Reviews. A few months ago, well, actually, it was last year by the time I did it, I did a Kadic Impressions, the first one, in fact, on a new anime that I was watching, Aquarion Logos. I said at the time, well, who cares what I said at the time? There's a video on that. If you want to check it out, I will leave a link to it in the description. But now it is time, after 23 more episodes, to find out my overall opinion on the third Aquarion series. Yes, this is the third Aquarion series, marking an anniversary, in fact. This Aquarion series is a different theme. Both the first and second Aquarion proper and Aquarion Evol followed the same overall story track, telling the generational upgrade of the legend of the giant robot and the many pilots destined to pilot it against the evils it faced. The third series, however, dumps this almost entirely, which is a confusing move. It does keep the whole idea of a romantic couple or two at the center of it, but you wouldn't know it if only for the name and the presence of the giant robot in multiple forms. Aquarion Logo starts out rather bizarrely, not with a proper first episode, but rather two episodes in one. The first acting as a bridge between the original Aquarion and Evol. It actually acts more as an ending to Evol more than anything else. The big thing is both of the massive giant robots from the previous two series and their collective cast duel each other in a massive misunderstanding, standing to see which is better. But ultimately, they come together and unite to make that dimension a better place. Logos, on the other hand, takes place in an entirely different world and universe. A world powered by words. As seen that we are on a social networking website, the power of words and communication has not only become more powerful, it has become nearly essential. Aquarion Logos uses this as the preface for its script, saying that in the world of Logos, words and communication have become such the norm that people overuse it. Thanks to a very popular social networking site, Ironic, even though it plays more upon Facebook than anything, called Nesta. However, words are being used so much that in this world they have lost their meaning. When they have done so, they become MJBKs. Although the actual meaning of MJBKs is never truly given, we know it is the corruption or misuse of words. In other words, using words in the wrong context, which happens a lot in social networking. To battle these evil words with actual destructive properties, and yes, evil words, it sounds kind of contradictory, is a brand new source of heroes going by the name of the Verbalism Club, but under the secret organization Deva, which is one of the only real connections to the true Aquarion lore. But this version of the Deva crew works at an internet cafe. They throw on drama plays. But these drama plays in the Verbalism Club is actually meant to improve their power of word use. That's what verbalism is. Thanks to verbalism, they can pilot the new vectors. And so far, things have been going somewhat swimmingly, but it isn't until a mysterious character known as Akira shows up from out of nowhere, claiming to be the Savior, which could also be another open-ended reference to the previous two Aquarions proper. But also on the other side, however, another mysterious girl shows up by the name of Maya. These two characters are emphatically linked, although they do not love each other at first, much like the other main Aquarion couples, where they fall in love over the course of the show. Of course, using the vectors, they can form the tuticular robot, Aquarion. In fact, Aquarion is known for having multiple combinations and variations, depending on who's in the vector seats, which makes the totality of the cast important. There's Karen, a young girl meant to try to be a singer, but ultimately comes to the conclusion that she wants to voice act. A young comedian who, I won't spoil it, but let's just say he's, well, don't get used to him. There's of course Maya, as her character grows from mysterious to even more mysterious over the course of the show. There's a debate speaker who wants to be a politician and uses his verbalism power to influence the opinions of others in hopes for political change. And then there's Kagome, the innocent young girl who struggles to find her voice, but has a terrific singing voice and can act when not nervous or pressured, which oftentimes she is. The Verbalism crew, much like the other Aquarion cast, are very versified and have their own personalities. Even the leaders themselves have personalities of their own, not as enigmatic as Aquarion's previous teachers or mentors, by the by, but their own individual personalities make them different and unique. Even the Aquarion combinations have different looks and styles, and play different different combat styles or movement variations, which really shows off in the animation, which is one of the best parts of Logos. The animation is colorful. It is big at times, especially in the battle scenes, with great use of almost ink-drawn palette mixed with traditional CGI. As for the actual anime itself, it may look subpar to some, but the battle scenes are worth seeing when Aquarion is actually used, and there's a lot of character development. The shame, however, in Aquarion Logos is the writing. The writing is at its all-time worst of the 3 series thus far. The first 13 episodes or so don't do a lot to explain the overlying plot. Only that the chairman of Nesta Sosen, has a book of verbalism, which gives him total control over words. He's the one creating the MJBKs. But the power of words, or why the words can even be used in the first place, isn't largely explained at all in the first 13. In fact, it almost takes the Power Rangers-esque monster of the week form in its early episodes. A word goes corrupt. Aquarion learns a personal trial about one of the characters. New Aquarion forms, lather, rinse, repeat, until ultimately near the end of the first 13, the show starts to get suddenly darker when Sojin's son, Subed, who has been obsessed with getting Maya back from the Verbalism Club, finally shows his true strength. And a big transition is given. In fact, nothing about the history of the world or the plot of the series isn't really given until episode 23 of the entire series. Yes, near the end of this thing, finally the truth behind the plot and who's truly the evil one comes to pass. Character conflicts, a few sudden shockers, and even a kind of twist on the hero's sacrifice will occur before the end of this thing. But it is the plot's convoluted nature that really downs Aquarion Logos. Instead of relying on its tradition, something that Evolve did by following the tradition of the first series, this one plots a chart all of its own, and it doesn't really work overall as a concept. The idea of words can be hurtful if misused or mispronounced, and that communication is vital, which is the overall message of the show, are good morals to teach overall to an audience. But it is done in such a slipshod and shoddy format that many people will probably exit the show early without finishing it. And the further badness also includes the opening and closing themes to both halves of this series. These are quite frankly the 4 worst songs in the Aquarion musical lineup. it just doesn't come off as strong or powerful, and any of the background music ends up falling flat to my ears. The subs were decent, and the Japanese voices okay, but nothing really stands out as good or unique. It really, especially in the latter half of the series, relies on the giant robot battles almost exclusively as the plot spirals out of control into a mass ball of hysteria before finally coming to a stop at a soft conclusion, with no real winner or showing that the world got better, except for in the closing credits where we see where each of our good guys end up at the end. But largely this show, for me especially, has just been a confusing mess. Not relying on its history of the other two Aquarion shows, too much reliance on a Monster of the Week format in the early going, and a confusing, somewhat mind-altering, overwritten plot is what dooms Aquarion logos to the bottom of the barrel. Animation may be great, but the show doesn't hold on to itself, or even its own tradition. You'll leave being more confused than wanting more. And hopefully, the next Aquarion series, if there is one, will go back to the more style of the first or second. Because if it goes back to the style of Logos, or goes to a brand new style, the hope for Aquarion to make it to another decade is very few and far between. And this really saddens me, considering that the other two Aquarion series are excellent animes made by Funimation and Studio Satellite. It's really a shame, though. I have a lot of high hopes for this series. It's just too bad it could not deliver the love. That's why, unfortunately, I have to give Aquarion Logos a 3 out of 10. Only watch it if you're truly into Aquarion. But also carry a notepad and try not to get too confused. Its social commentary statement about the value and harms of communication in an overly connected world is a good one, but the convoluted plot may have you signing out before buying in. Until the next Kadic Reviews. And by the way, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you really like it, favorite. Until the next Kadic Reviews, I'm Nirvana Sparkle. Find peace in your own nirvana. Thanks for watching.